This is where the fun begins.
Did you miss me?
I don't know what happened there. I don't know if it skipped forward on you guys or what. For me, it just didn't play right. Anyways, so this is our Thursday morning coffee chat, everyone. What a freaking crazy opening for that. Sorry about that. I don't know what happened. It felt like it jumped my intro jumped ahead. I don't know. Anyways, hello you guys and welcome to Coffee Chat. You do have a very dressed up OG Star Wars here. I'm getting ready to do submission for some progress photos for my fitness challenge that I'm in. We are finally at the end, so they want us to thumbs up or tan up, I guess you could say. Put some makeup on, like as if you're going on stage, basically almost for fitness competition and all of that. So you got me here. So welcome, and thank you guys for tuning in. And I hope that you guys are voting. I did tweet out the 4 legacy era Rogue Squadron individuals that are being in this last poll for your favorite Rogue Squadron pilots. And so get your vote. Take a look at that real quick here. But I just want to show you guys made it in this last round, these last few rounds. So we have Gavin Darklighter, basically Big's cousin, who made it in the first round. And then we have Wedge Antilles that made it in the second. And the third was Jaina Solo. So I did a couple from the early, actually the first one was just some known popular ones and Gavin made it through. The second one, which Intelli's made it through, was our classical Rogue Squadron when it was forming under Luke and Wedge and all that. And then the third one is later in the years when Jaina and so New Jedi Order and early Republic and mid into New Jedi Order era, or late New Republic, I'm sorry. And so she made it through. So the four that are now up for this vote is from Legacy Era. And I don't know what happened here. And for this, I was contemplating if I should do early Legacy in the 40 ABY and put Zek in there or not. And I did not to. I decided to jump further ahead in the timeline to 120 something, 130 something. ABY during Cade Skywalker's, the Skywalker family during that time. So we have Jor Bay, and he is a leader of Rogue Squadron during the time. And then Anj Dal, which basically she Rogue Squadron 2 and later became a head figure of the Rogue Squadron during that time. You can look at her. I was going to bring that up for you guys to see here, on Coffee Chat, but I decided not to. And then we have Hondo Carr, who basically is a Mandalorian who joined the cause during that time, went undercover to infiltrate, basically, in a sense, the Empire or something like that. I forget now, so I have to take a look at that. Jeez, it's like I'm going blank on that one, but he's an interesting character as well. So, and then he ends up going into the Rogue Squadron and then later going back to his family and his Mandalorian ways. And then you have Monia Gahan, or however you say her name, and she's Mon Calamari. And she is basically another, I wouldn't say a figurehead baby, but significant as well. During their battle against Darth Krayt, they like 10 people and was massacred on Mon Cal. And when she was other types of battles. So just choose your guys' vote favorite. Go back on my Twitter if you need to take a look at the summary. I shared it both on my main page and my YouTube community page. Joram Bay is at 9%. Anj is at 16. Hondo Carr is at 73, and I think he caught everybody's eye because he has Mandalorian from the Mandalorian culture. And then 0%. So she has no love from you guys. So thank you guys again. And your CAF, what is in your mug here? Let me know what you're enjoying as we get into this morning's coffee chat. So let me go see who is dropping in. And let's see here. So we have Dermot McQuaid. McQuaid. What's up? Hello, how are you doing? And let me take this off the screen now. There you go. And then we have joining us Jim. Whoops, that jumped on me. Wow. Okay, so yeah, hello there. And the fractured filter. I was gonna say factory, the fractured filter. And then Keely, what's up? How are you doing? And Matt G's and and then Becky, hello, how are you doing? And today's topics are basically going to be, we are going to talk about Battle of Ruusan, compare it, and talk about the Clone Wars and how that kind of affected the Clone Wars in a sense for the rise of this, the rule of two and stuff. So we're going to go, the Battle of Ruusan versus Clone Wars, and also talk about how they coincide together when it comes to history. Happened at the Battle of Ruusan and the thought bomb and the formation of the Rule of Two and the Reformation. So basically, we'll talk about that. And then I did have you guys vote on my Twitter about if the Jedi were for the Republic. And so that was a close one here, and we'll go over that as well. Of course, the cringe factor is about the Jedi being soldiers for the Republic, and so I decided to do the Ruusan Wars and talk about both of them. I thought it'd be something great because, again, we can compare to what happened during those times which were like thousands of years from each other. And then we can also talk about affected how Ruusan and what was going on with the Sith during that time basically brought about Palpatine and the Clone Wars. So that's a very topic as well. So I feel like I'm like Marilyn Monroe because I have fake eyelashes on. So I'm like, feel like my eyes are shut in a way, but I can see you guys. Hello. Orange here. Hello. Others are having that problem too with the clips. Oh, okay. Thank you. Because I was like, what happened? No, it's usually just rides out smooth, and then I can click on the next one, and then but this time it just felt like it jumped, it stopped, and then I, of course, began the other one. So, and it just has a mind of its own and using the Force. Yeah, the Force. Yeah. Let me see. Jim says, if anyone else trying not to freeze to death below zero. Ooh, I'm in California, but it's pretty for California weather. But I get it. I have family. I'm originally from Colorado, and so I understand how that cold weather is. Yeah, stay warm. And keep yourself healthy. We are officially in winter. Becky says, Jim. Okay, so they're talking. Hey, Batsy, what's up? And it coincides with my T-shirt. So I'll stand up here. So I love the shirt here. I want one of Rogue Squadron. So there you go. So Rogue Squadron and then other squadrons that are within the original Wars, like, so I want to, maybe I'll do that myself and put it in the merch in my Redbubble. Let's see here. And no notifications. I would go check to see if you'll have your notifications on, if you're still subscribed to the channel. Again, we know YouTube can be. I'm so sorry about that. So we know how YouTube can be. And let's see here. Dress warm. Yeah, dress warm. And then Sean, hello, how are you doing? At first, I thought the title said Battle versus the Horse. I seen your response to me on Twitter too. I was cracking up about that. That's hilarious. That is hilarious. Let's see here. Love the X-Wing series books. I do too. My favorite series. There's, so hard to rate because they all have their good moments and their bad moments. Their good book are their good books, are their slow books, and their books that are just very intriguing and stuff. So I have to give a great thought about what's my number one favorite series, and then I'll rate them. So that's going to give me some time because there's New Jedi Order, 19 book series. Of course, there are books that are very slow, or like you're like, okay, well, maybe we shouldn't go in that direction in this book or whatever. So they have the book so big, you're gonna have that. But the 9-book series, like X-Wing, I think, or 10. And then you have Legacy and then Fate. And of course you have a bunch of trilogies too, but I'm talking about the bigger series. And I would have to sit down and rate. But you guys, before we move on into discussing more about the Ruusan Battle and the Clone Wars and stuff, what is your favorite book series? If you've went through the EU and read enough of the book series and stuff, what is your favorite? So New Jedi Order, X-Wing series, Legacy of the Force, and Fate of the Jedi. I think those are the main ones in there. I don't think there's no series in the PT and Old Republic era. There's trilogies. So let me know. I'm going to scroll down, and if you're tuning in, hit the like button. I'm all sounding all rezzed out. Hit the like button, you guys. And share. There's super chats. If you feel like you give in to the channel, feel free to send a super chat. I usually don't discuss them. I usually don't call out for them, but it's always what I am looking at brand new mics, podcast mics. What I'm looking at is like $300. Not trying to guilt you guys in because I'm going to buy it regardless, but every penny helps that this channel makes with me going towards adding to that. So I do have a mic plugged into my laptop because it doesn't really work well with the laptop and my main computer, but I don't care for it. So this will be my backup once I get that. And then I'm looking into a green screen for behind. So I thought I would already have one already, but things had happened, finances change, things slow down, even the channel slowed down a little bit. But you guys, we are over 2,500 now. So thank you guys so much for we finally got there. I knew that because I had to slow down with the channel, it'll time to grow some more. And I greatly appreciate you guys, every single one of you guys. And I am going to have a watch party. I'm going to attempt the watch party again for Clone Wars 03. So I'll be planning that for January. It'll be under Scener. And so to the channel members, watch it through Scener. And it also be, we'll also have it on here so we can chat um, here on the live stream. So it'll be connected between the two. So, I will get that taken care of, and we'll attempt another watch party. That one wasn't very successful, even though we were private and only you guys could see. So yeah, so that's what's in the making here so far, and I'm almost done with my Ralph McCurry introduction of the first artist for the art of Star Wars. So stay tuned. I can't wait to add the subject to coffee chat. A lot of good things going on, you guys. A lot of good things. I'm so excited. Thank you guys. All right, I'm going to continue to say hello, and then we'll move on into talking about the lore. Now, before we do that, I wonder if I should do the cringe factor first so that we can get into the topic um of Ruusan and Clone Wars. And because it goes into are the Jedi soldiers for the Republic, were they? So that's just right now I'm like going a mile a minute because I want to plan this out where it's more efficient and effective for us that we can have a good conversation. All like flows through. So yeah, I got a busy mind right now. I'm excited. Hello. Let me see here. Let's see here. You guys are chatting amongst yourself. Let's see here. Darmat says Christmas doesn't exist in Star Wars Galaxy for obvious reasons, but there are any in-universe festival holiday celebrations. Day there's Life Day, so we have the Life Day here. In fact, my moderator in Emma, I hope everything's going well with him because I don't see in yet, but I haven't scrolled all the way down. But he was saying party with you guys on the holiday special, but I don't want to put none of us through that cheesiness that is the holiday special. And then, the thought bomb, such a splendid moment, getting a bunch of Jedi to off themselves. So it's not only them, it also offed the Sith in a sense too. So they're both of that, the greediness of the Sith using the thought bomb and not knowing too much history about that, in a sense, I guess you could say, led to their defeat as let's see here. That are you got I don't know what that one's. Why aren't you letting me show the next one? I hate when you jump. This things jump into time with StreamYards today. Let's see here. All right. Oh yeah, Lego Shakti's death was savage, for more brutal than any of the deleted scenes. Yeah, I know. So they joke about her having many deaths, but so she death was in what was it? I think at the novelization, babes, basically the Revenge of the Sith novelization. That's the true one. Or was it I have to go back and research it because I still get confused about that. I was just discussing this like a few months ago about her death, and I was like, it's this one here because I went and did my research, and I since then, I think it's the I think so. And then let's see here, let's scroll down. Favorite Star Wars book is the Revenge of the Sith novel. I like Last Trials book series and the Old Republic books. All right, so I mean, like the series. What is your favorite series? Let's see here. Hello. Happy for Life Day, please. Oh my God, yes, Life Day. That's something fun that came out of the holiday special, but not the cheesiness that happened behind it. Let's see here. Okay, we just have premium day here on so let's see here. Okay, one holiday in Star Wars is Empire Day. And then Hoth and the Thought Bomb is another of what Luke was supposed to be. Jedi should never give their lives for others. They should be expected to, and that's the thing. That's the thing, that they do give their lives. They willingly give their lives, basically. And we see with Luke and stuff going into battle, knowing that his life can be taken anytime for the peace, for creating peace, and all that. So, and they have mine here, and it's me. StreamYard is crazy. Peace. What's up, my fellow pimp? How are you? I am all dolled up today. You guys got quite a view today. I am, after this, I'll be taking headshots, full body in a bikini. I do have my heels for the bikini. Yeah, so we're like going off of Star Wars here. And then I also dress up in like lifestyle. So dress up in my best, like ordinary clothes, I guess you could say. So I have a nice little fitted body skirt, body or dress to wear for that, with some heels as well. Yeah, so that's going on with me. Sorry, no reveal of bikini here on chat. Probably on coffee or CAF chat. Let's see here. Thing is, like, it keeps like refreshing. Let's see here. Hopefully you guys can hear me well. I don't know what's going on. Which today, Thought Bomb pretty much gave the galaxy a do-over. Sith Jedi like reorganized after. Correct. And that's a great point that I wanted to talk about as well. And so let's get into some of this talk before we get into Cringe Factors. Cringe Factors article of were they answers for the Republic. So we're going to get into a little bit this, and then we're going to cross over to Cringe Factor back and swing back to the Ruusan Battle versus the Clone Wars. So with the Ruusan Battle, which happened like 1,000, began 1,002 or 1,002 BBY, ended 2 years after. So there's 7 campaigns there. I'm not going to go through one of them, but the very first battle, basically the Sith ruled that one. The reason why it was formed was Hoth was seeing how the Sith was gaining control of the galaxy and stuff, and he wanted to, form an army to start defeating the Sith and stuff. And so that is where we got the mission of the Army of Light. And so it was through him. He didn't solely get the blessing of the council as well, and he took his campaign, his recruitment off Coruscant, and he was also bringing in other light side users as well, because he didn't want the Sith to start recruiting other Force users to expand their army, I guess you could say, their people, their order, basically. And so we have the formation of the Army of Light, and because the Republic, seeing that the Sith was a big threat, gaining control or controlling that, they went ahead and sanctioned, I guess you could say, the Army of Light, and was militarized. And so this goes into that article here. And versus the Wars, which basically we know how that happened as well. It was in the movies. We've seen manipulating both sides of the war. He created the war, both sides of the war. And, with them saving Anakin, Obi, and Padme on Geonosis, they got to use the clone army, which began the Clone Wars. And this was also orchestrated by a Sith, but the Sith from the rule of 2, because the Brotherhood of Darkness was dissolved, basically destroyed. Bane then, created the rule of 2, which had 1,000 years to evolve. And so that's the little history on that. So we're going to go ahead and get into that article here and talk more about how Jedi were basically, soldiers to the Republic at each point. And I'm going to go ahead, before I pull up that article, I'm going to look at, I did a poll on Twitter. I'm going to go ahead and look at that. I'm not going to bring it on screen. I did a poll for Twitter asking you guys to vote on that. And so it was very close. It was a very close poll. And so I'll scroll down for that. So that's what I'm doing here. Let's see here. You have my, okay. So basically what it says is we're the Jedi soldiers for the Republic before the Clone Wars. 40%, 40 point, I don't know where the split comes up with, but 40.9% of you said yes, and 59.1 of you guys said no. So it was relatively close. Still had almost a 10% margin here, but, or maybe a little bit more. So about basically 22 of you guys voted. So a little over half. Said no, sorry. And so we're gonna get into but let me see here. I do have a super chat, and I know you guys are chatting amongst each other and also to me. So Raj for the super sticker at 199. Thank you so much for the continued support. And again, we are celebrating. We are finally at 2,500 channel members here. Thank you guys so much. I know it's been growing very, very slow. Like I said, the my channel has been growing very slow because of things that have been happening. Mostly good. I did have the car wreck, that had me kind of slow significantly more than I wanted to. But I'm excited about all the projects coming and all the looking to the channel here soon. The new year is going to bring some new stuff, and I'm pretty excited about that. Thank you guys so much. Let's see here. All right, so we have this here, and I hate those little advertisements stuff, but okay. All right. So Star Wars hints the Jedi Republic soldiers. So what do you guys think? Knowing the history between Ruusan all the way to the Clone Wars, we know the famous quote that Windu states, basically saying, "We're the guardians of peace," and I'm paraphrasing now, not soldiers. So that was his statement when they were being called upon to start taking roles in the fighting, because the Ruusan, after the Ruusan formation, they basically demilitarized, in a sense, the Republic. That's why, they had, that's why the clones were secretly made, in a sense. There was no military. Yeah, and their sectors and stuff like that had their own defense. That's known. But the Republic as a government, as a whole, did not have a centralized military. And the Ruusan Reformation, what is one thing that kind of like, led to after the Battle of Ruusan, after the defeat. And of course, the light was dismembered as well as a basically military. And even the order kind of shunned the veterans from that, the Jedis that fought and survived. They shunned them. And so that's another bit of history there. So let's go ahead at this. Now, I don't know if this would be considered a cringe factor thing. It may be. You guys just make a kick out of their mind trying to spin something that's not there. Basically, it's cringe factor, right, you guys? Right? So the heroic Jedi Knights are known as peacekeepers throughout the Star Wars films, but this was not always the case. The Jedi Order is closely tied to the Galactic Republic throughout the prequel era, and just as the Republic has evolved through its history, so too have the Jedi. Organization's early history, there were, by necessity, far more warlike, having to defend themselves from the brutal extremist forces of the Sith. Well, we already know the history of that. We already know the history behind the Sith. They are basically enemies. They once the prophecy comes into play, we know that basically the balance needs to be restored because the Sith is creating the imbalance. And so we have that push and pull. Does that mean that the Jedi are military? Not necessarily. They are a warrior monk culture, I guess say, but not a military. As revealed, I'm gonna scan open. As revealed in the 2016 Disney Star Wars reference book, Star Wars Propaganda History of Pers- um, Persuasive Art in the Galaxy, the Jedi were once the soldiers of the Republic, but following the defeat of the Sith at the conclusion of the Jedi Sith War, they changed their ways to that of peacekeepers. So are we at because when I was doing research last night for this and deciding should I go with the Ruusan Battle versus Clone Wars and all of this and this Cringe Factor article, uh, the Ruusan Reformation or something like that is now canon, I guess, or not canon because it is canon to the original. It's now Disney lore. But the thing is that the history of Star Wars Disney lore is only like some like odd thousand years post or pre the prequel trilogy. So they don't have that big expansive frame to really get us to know or get their Disney Star Wars fans know why the Sith and Jedi are enemies, why are they forming together to fight them, why Jedi Sith war, because I mean their history is so tiny, so small that like even the hyperspace history and the formation of hyperspace lanes and travel in the galaxy is very compacted within that 1,000 years before the Republic or before the old Republic or the PT era. So it's kind of they destroyed them. They put themselves in the corner when they decided to get rid of toss the EU because it's not really getting rid of because it's still here for us to enjoy, right? We're not going to get any more stories, which hurts my heart. But, you know, they decided to put themselves in the corner by tossing the EU, but then still saying, oh, we're going to still honor it by pulling in some stuff we like from the EU for our own lore. But they do that and they compact and they shorten the history timeline. It doesn't make sense. How can it fit in there when they put in like Revan, like notes of him hinting he's going to be in the lore sometime, but he happened 3,000 years prior to the PT? How can they, expand on the rule of two, they decide to put so many different factions of Sith happening during that time, and engaging with Palpatine and stuff, so we got to think about all that here that they're saying, oh, we're going to honor the EU and it's going to make you EU elitists basically happy. But then they can't fit it in there properly. And then they wonder why I'm not excited about that. They're wondering why we're calling it bastardization of the EU. So that's my little rant. So let's go ahead and go on. This version of the Jedi Order's history reflects the Legends continuity, which further explores the histories and the philosophies of Sith and Republic in both continuities. So yeah, I don't know much about, I haven't dove in to do my compare and contrast to, a lot of the philosophies of the Jedi, Sith, and Republic of Disney lore. I hate to go there, but like when I'm gonna start doing some more compare and contrast videos, I do need to make those efforts to know what I'm talking about. But it's like going into a sandpit. Sorry, it's like it's just no. Okay, the Jedi altered their code following the Sith's seeming destruction. So okay, and while they remained perhaps too closely tied to the Republic, they were no longer warriors. So they're saying, okay, so they're no longer warriors after, like when we get into the PT era. to me, they always have been warriors. And when you look into George's creation of Star Wars and the cultures that influenced him, even through like film, through culture, and through cultural art and mythos, the Jedi were, an extension of Japanese culture. Like he took influence from them to create how they look and how they acted, all of that. And he created Jedi and the Sith too, as well. But then the Sith became the opposite of what the Jedi were in a sense. And so he masterfully created these factions and the Force and what it means to see here. So they've always been warriors. That's why they carry their lightsaber. That's why you have the evolution lightsaber to where it was basically a sword, wielded metal sword, to where then it goes to the laser basically on a power pack. And then the Sith is the one that created the anti or they removed the power pack and put the power sword in the hilt. So that's how the lightsaber came to be as well. And I do have a video on that, a small video on that I forget that I have some of these lore videos I could share with you guys about of the lightsaber, and that was through the Sith. The lightsaber that you see in history, that Star Wars history, like the PT and parts of the Old Republic and stuff like that, is what the Sith created here. So and their culture was their first thing that they wanted to do was to find resolution first, to make peace, find resolution. Battling, stepping up as warriors to protect the integrity of the galaxy or whatever was the last resort. So let's see here. Throughout their history, Jedi Knights serve the will of the Force, which led them to protect civilization and the natural balance of the galaxy. Not initially a political institution, the Jedi found themselves as inseparable allies to the Galactic Republic, a democratic government that unified much of the galaxy. Thus, as servants of the dark side, created an imbalance in the Force. And I didn't see who's writing this here. So I didn't see who the author was. As they oppressed the galaxy's population. As part of the Republic and fundamentally opposed to the Sith, Jedi Knights became the Republic's most effective military force in the Jedi-Sith War, as well as in many ways wars against the Sith that took place in this continuity. So I'm going to go ahead and take a look at what you guys are saying before I finish this article to interact. And I see your question towards me, so I will get to. If they want to honor the EU OG, all they have to do is release the Sword of the Jedi books and let everyone get what they want. You think that they would allow the trilogy happen, but they don't. And they even when they decided to say, "Oh, the EU is no longer relevant to us," they even how they talk, how their message was is that they had no interest in. They were never interested in continuing any of the EU. But with the direction that they're going with their own lore, and they can't even keep that straight, I don't trust them with anything on expanding the EU whatsoever. And I used to be, yes, let's do it. Let's continue the EU. Have two timelines. Let everybody be happy. But as I've been watching and as I've been seeing the Disney Star Wars lore expanding and how they said, oh, everything's going to be canon to each other. It's going to be much better than the old EU. It's not going to be as messy, blah, blah, blah. Basically it's worse. It's worse. And they still have much less content than the original one has. So let's see here. Becky says, oh, gee, I meant to ask, you any books or comics about the Starforge? let me go ahead and get a hold of you on Twitter, okay? And let's see here. Compare and contrast Disney and Lucas era Jedi lore. Nobody wanted to go down that Sarlacc. Yeah, it's crazy how what they're doing. I mean, I've talked about how are reforming the rule of two and how it's not even relevant anymore. The that existed in the original lore is nothing is much better, and the rule of two existing in the Disney Star Wars lore is not it's bastardized. It's no comparison. There's nothing great about that. Totally destroyed that storyline. Look at the image of the Force Wars Jedi looked very samurai, had swords, not sabers. Yeah, so they had that evolution of the either. And they were always warriors. And I think warriors do step up to fight. Like The Last Samurai, if you guys watch that one. I rather like that movie with with Tom Cruise. And we see them standing up to fight, taking their roles on. Warriors could still fight. They also, Japan during that time was also brought in Americans to train and stuff. So we have the comparison here. So let's see. Batsy says, "Do you realize that if Disney continued the EU, it would be woke, right?" Well, that's the thing is that if you look back in the EU, especially the ones that the material that were coming out before the buyout or just as the buyout was being finalized and stuff, you could still see a lot of like, I wouldn't say woke, but the material in there would satisfy people today with the woke ideologies. So in a sense, are we now too sensitive towards that we're expecting everything to be? Whenever we see something of person of color, that generic term, and woman taking the lead, that we automatically think it's going to be bad. We are going to think that's going to be woke. All this. I mean, seriously, I posted this question on Twitter. So yeah, so that's something I've been contemplating lately. Like even, if the Sword of the Jedi came out today, call it woke because Jaina's the main character. Especially those who really don't know the lore and how she got from point A to point B. So that's just something to contemplate. Not trying to change the subject, just trying to, bring more thoughts to the head where you can, digest what is it really? Are we really hypersensitive now to SJW woke stuff that we're expecting it? So we'll call everything that, even if it's not. Just something to think about, something to chew on. Blackest Night says, "Hello, and by the way, I am out of Disney Star Wars. Sorry, not sorry. The original EU is still my correct. The original EU is Star Wars here. Yeah, and that's what we're talking here today. Throwing up a cringe factor article that goes in well with the subject here, and then we're going to get into Ahsoka leaks. So if you're tuning in right now, before I move and finish this article, if you are tuning in, please get your vote in. And this is the last one until we do the final four. So please get your vote in. Your favorite Rogue Squadron pilots from the Legacy era. So that's about 137 ABY. So far, Joram Bay is at 6%. Ange Doll is at 18%. And she's a sexy looking lady. I posted her picture and I've seen a lot of her art, her images when I was, looking all this up, doing my research, putting everything together so that you guys can understand these characters more. Because I read the Legacy novels, but I thought maybe for those who didn't, or maybe those who haven't read them in a long time, would like a recap on these characters. And then Hondo Carr, 71%. He's leading. He's the Mandalorian rogue pilot. And I think people are very much intrigued with that. I think that's why he's winning. And poor Monia Gahan, I think I said it right. She's Mon Calamari, 6%. So I will keep this going for another 15, 20 minutes. So get your vote in. You can go on my Twitter and, maybe retweet it so that you guys can go straight to it and read about the characters while you're tuning in so you can get a proper vote in, because I would like for you to make your well educated assessment on them, especially if you haven't read the Legacy comics in a while, read it at all, and you're interested in these characters. So let me go ahead and do that real quick. And I see you guys are hopping along here in the chat. Thank you guys so much for continued support. So I'm up here. So I'll retweet that. Let's see here. Retweet so you guys can know. And Soul Assassin, once I retweet it, if you can pull up the link and share it here, go ahead. It's going to be called RS, Rogue Squadron, when I retweet it on my main page. So I'm doing that right now, as you guys could see. I'm looking down at my phone because it's easier to do it that way. So it could be called RS, Rogue Squadron. And it has their mini bios. Cade Skywalker, what a man. I see that, Becky. Oh, yes, he is. He might be the most intriguing Skywalker, even though I love he's the reason why I got into the EU. He's the reason why I got into Star Wars. My favorite character, not I and I shift through favorite characters, but more than Luke from my movie characters is my absolute favorite. Cade Skywalker. Yeah, he's got the of all of his ancestors in him. And you can even tell, you can even see the sassiness of Mara in him, and all of that. So let's see here. Let's go back to the article here pretty soon. Let's see here. Why I first thought we're being stupid was Star Wars, them shunning the EU. What are they thinking to replace it with? My expectations were, but holy criff. Yes, I love how you use criff. Holy criff. Right? Like, and then they're doing a series now, and I think it's in the Darth Vader comics, maybe. I don't know. I think it might be, I'm not sure. But Sabe, I think that's her name. Yeah. One of Padme's maiden, her guardian maidens, basically decided to reveal that she is gay. She's lesbian. Always had a thing for Padme. And now that she found out who Vader is, stuff, she's with their Crimson Dawn, I think it's called. Wants to get revenge on Vader / Anakin. Yeah, so there's basically this like adult novel comic series going on with this like love fate thing going on with one of Padme's handmaiden bodyguard. So fucking stupid. It is so damn stupid. We didn't know that. Vader doesn't need these stupid characters, like these new stupid characters to come in to spend time and try to defeat and kill and whatever. I mean, bring us some more things about trying to figure out where the rebels are, and going on and stopping them from gaining more resources or whatever. Like the comics did during that. It's so fucking stupid. But no, Red Crimson is a threat, and Sabe is gonna dress up looking like him, near him, and try to get revenge. I'm shitting you guys. Books that star Mara, I could never think as woke. Yeah, I know. Well, because we know exactly what happened with her. She was kidnapped as a by Palpatine. They would have, like that propaganda about the Jedi stealing kids from families to train. I mean, that's why I said propaganda. They never really fully did that. But the Sith did. Palpatine did. He kidnapped Mara Jade. He took Mara Jade from her family. Maybe about 5 years old, maybe something like that. And yeah, so and we get the beautiful Mara Jade that we know now. But that's the thing. Sith did a lot of things that Palpatine tried to cover up, or and made it look like the Jedi doing that stuff. So that was his propaganda. This is for you. You are just going at it with me on this baby Yoda, wannabe baby Yoda bastard. And then why They were being stupid with Star. Okay, I reread that one. Sorry. See, look at Soul Assassin. You distracted one already. I want to vote for Hondo. Gotta support the Mandos, but his story went. Oh, yeah, I know. That's why I read it because his story, it's an intriguing story, and he went back. Eventually, he went back to his Mandalorian family and culture. Yeah. So, but he's an intriguing character, to say the least. Don't trust the rat, not screws up. So let's get back. I'm gonna show this right here. Of course, let's finish this article and get back to the lore topic. Then we can get into the Ahsoka show leaks. I have a video on that, but I figured it'd be fun to talk with you guys in the chat on what was revealed as well. See what you guys get from this. I know that there are some people that love Ahsoka. He came from basically the original EU. I was gonna say Legends, but the original EU. Um, and then now she's gonna be in everything. So I won't get into this discussion here pretty right now. So let's go ahead and get back to the article so we can talk more about Ruusan versus Clone Wars. Throughout the history, Jedi Knights served the will of the Force, which led them. Oh, okay, I think I read all of that. Or did I? Okay, so yeah. Throughout the history, the Jedi Knights were served of the Force, which led them to protect civilizations and the natural balance of the galaxy. While initially a political institution, the Jedi founded, yeah, I did read this, themselves as inseparable allies to the galactic, like a democratic government. So we went through all of this here. Know that because of the Ruusan Reformation, that they, were able to the government to help settle disputes. That's something that we know already. So is that getting into politics? Maybe in a sense to help, resolve. They have to understand the situation, but in a sense, Jedi's being the guardians of peace and protecting the galaxy do have to have some knowledge of what's going on in the galaxy, based on the politics of the galaxies, to know exactly what they're going to get themselves into and what they're protecting, what's going on during the time frame, right? I mean, that's the wise thinking, is to keep in tune with what's going on in the galaxy. In Legends, the Sith seemingly went extinct conclusion of the Ruusan campaign. Yeah, seemingly. In the new Sith Wars, leading to the Ruusan Reformation. The Reformation demilitarized the Republic and led the Jedi to forego their armor and military titles. They're making it sound like Jedi, like for thousands of years before the Reformation, the Ruusan Reformation, were military. No, like I stated in the beginning, the Army of Light, founded by Hoth, wasn't necessarily sanctioned by the Jedi Order, but they did give some sort of blessings. If you look into the history, it wasn't like full on, like, yeah, we're gonna, join this or whatever, or we're gonna, we're gonna fully support. And then the Republic came in, and seen the threat of the Sith as well, because they were starting to gain a lot of control over the galaxy. They joined in with the battle. So we see not only Jedi, but we also non-Jedi or non-Force users being recruited for this fight here. So basically, the ones that really sanctioned the Army of Light was the Republic. Now, does this make them soldiers now? Maybe, yeah. But then we did see the Clone Wars, the Jedi stepping up as soldiers as well, as leaders of their factions, leaders of their of the clones and stuff, the Jedi stuff. And so, but do you think too that they just stepped up as being warriors, still fighting the Sith that they always trained to do? The only thing that made it different was the sanction from the Republic, which probably made the population of the time during that time frame in Star Wars see them as soldiers. But when you look at Jedi history, with the Sith and stuff, they've always trained to keep balance. They always trained, to protect the galaxy. They always trained to fight against the Sith. Does that make them soldiers? No, it doesn't. And what the Hoth was doing when he formed the Army of the Light, it was that he was, making the Jedi stronger, also recruiting Force users so that the Sith wouldn't recruit them to fight the rising power of the Sith during that time, which acted by the Jedi. And then we're going to go all the way. So I'm going to go all the way to the order. Luke had to do the same thing, in a sense. When he was trained in the OT, he was trained to fight the Sith. Did that make him a soldier? Not really. So this is where, you have these gray areas here of, were they really soldiers, or were they at the time frame at one point in time and then no more? They just really warriors, stepping up and taking a role to help, with the war to find peace. And that's the thing that that's why I put that tweet out. Were the Jedi really soldiers for the Republic before the Clone Wars? Because we have this here. Now, the Ruusan, during the Ruusan Battle, yeah, the Republic did sanction them and gave them, um, money and all that stuff to help them battle against the Sith. So they basically helped them with that, because that also helped them regain their help the Sith from maintaining power and stuff. That's the thing. That's the thing here. So is what Mace Windu said out true? The PT and what the Jedi believed when we come to the PT true? I believe they were always peacekeepers. Peacekeepers are the ones that stepped up. The last resort was to step up. And when you're someone who's a peacekeeper, there's sometimes fight has to happen. Sometimes you have to go into. Sometimes you have to fight for that peace. That's why they train. That's why they train in their forms of lightsaber combat, I guess you could say, and that's why they train Force as well. And that's why they focus on always the light side, to make sure they get corrupted and fall to the dark, like who they're fighting against. Because the dark side corrupts. The side brings imbalance. So I'm going to read this on and I'll go back to you guys' comments. Controlling the Galactic Republic as Supreme Chancellor and the Separatists as Darth Sidious. And see, they don't really talk about Volo and get much into the Ruusan Reformation. We're going back now onwards here in this article. Palpatine forced the galaxy into a separatist crisis and eventually the wars. Yeah, so basically, in short, he orchestrated the war. And Dooku was the leader of the separatists, or is that for Palpatine or Sidious. And then we had the Clade, that was influenced by Sidious and Plagueis as well, orchestrating, setting up this battle so that the Sith can get their revenge against the Jedi and control the galaxy. And this is why the Jedi decided to step up. This is why Mace questioned, we're not really soldiers, we're peacekeepers. What are you doing? But then in a way, Palpatine knew that they would step up, because by stepping up, they are fighting for peace. Because we know that the Sith were studying the Jedi the 1,000 years that they were in hiding, that they, indisclosed from the galaxy, are basically extinct as a Jedi thought. We're learning how the Jedi think, what they're doing, and they use that against them. Like Yoda said in Revenge of the Sith novelization, failed to evolve. The Sith evolved, they failed to evolve. And I'm paraphrasing, of course. All right. So this forced the Jedi Order's hand to place its men into former leadership position within the Republic military once again. Again, stepping up. Like I said, Palpatine knew that they would step up and fight to regain the peace. That's what Jedi's do. Jedi's do exactly that. If they can't find any resort, like if they can't negotiate, find a resolution and stuff in a peaceful manner, step up to fight for the peace. Not only did this help build or not only did this help blind the Jedi to Palpatine's gradual fascist coup, but it also turned the populace against them, ensuring the Jedi Order's destruction at the end of Star Wars saga prequel era. So there we go. So that's the article here. So what do you guys think about that? Because they didn't come to a proper conclusion. They're just like, oh yeah, they were soldiers. You know, they were soldiers. They presented like them being soldiers before. Let me see who wrote this article, by the way. They presented this as Jedi were once Republic soldiers, but we know the Republic expands all the way back for thousands and thousands of years pre the PT. But this article by David Miller makes it sound like they were always the military, the soldiers for the Republic, which they weren't. They weren't before the Ruusan battles. They formed an alliance to fight against the Sith during the Ruusan battles. Of course, the dynamics were very different than what happened in the Clone Wars. But then again, the Jedi and the Sith will fight. The Jedi will fight for peace. The Sith will fight to gain control of the galaxy. So anytime the Jedi step up to fight, they're not being soldiers. They are being who they are to maintain peace and balance in the galaxy. So I want to see what conclusion you guys come up with this, because this is something that debate, fun to talk about, and then a great subject to get into with the Clone Wars. I agree with the Jackson. I was concerned, but like Luke on Joe went in with an open mind and heart and left the heartbroken. Okay, so I don't know. You guys are discussing. Let's see here. Let's see here. Okay, I'm just making sure I'm not anything. I agree with Jackson. Okay, I read that one here. So, that's so dumb. Okay, if she truly loved her, she would have first move. I don't know what that's about. Yeah, it's okay. You guys are talking about Jaina. Okay, you're talking Jaina. Let's see here. Now I never mind Ahsoka. She was an interesting twist. Anakin having a student, and we'll get into that. We're gonna transition. We're gonna move on over to that pretty soon. I'm gonna close out the poll here. I'm just gonna go through the rest of these comments, and then we'll switch gears. But I still want to talk about the Ruusan stuff. We're gonna get into that. So everybody's talking about Ahsoka. Because the bomb went off and killed the planet. Correct. The thought bomb basically everything down underneath caverns and caves. But by the time the thought bomb went off, that opened up the cave, what is called the Valley of the Jedi. So people are like, oh well, it contradicts blah 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 because it was. But then when we get to dark forces, it is Jedi. It's called the Valley. Or it's in a valley. But when you look at Ruusan was turned into basically, it was destructed. The whole planet was destructed from the bomb. And the thought bomb basically was like an atomic bomb maybe, but not as bad because there's still natives that survived. Yeah, and so it opened up the caverns and the caves to what they Valley of the Jedi. So there you go. There's a little history there. People fail to look at the evolution of thousands of years that happened and what exactly the impact the thought bomb did to the planet. The Chancellor of Hoth's time was first non-Jedi Chancellor in a long time. That's Valorum. So Chancellor Valorum. There's, we have two Valorums, I think, in history. But anyways, Jedi had to take roles that go against the order, like being Jedi Lords who led armies against Sith. Yeah, I understand that. They were generals. Lords basically were the equivalent of the generals. But they had to take Jedis that had to take charge, just like we see in the Clone Wars. They because they understood. Well, in the Clone Wars, they didn't know they were fighting. They knew the Sith were coming back or had came back, but the war between the two, they were different structures. The Jedi of the time during the Ruusan battles, yes, they were birds and stuff like that, basically equivalents of the generals. And plan was, to destroy the Sith so that they stopped taking over rule of the galaxy and stuff. So and they formed basically armies to fight. So when we see the Jedi fight, if it's not called an army, they're not soldiers because they all come together to fight. So it's probably sure the organization that Hoth took with the sanction of or with the help of the Republic that made them look like soldiers. Yeah, like I said, there's this gray area here, but they also were dismembered, and in the Ruusan Reformation, basically the whole Republic was demilitarized in a sense. Like I said, the sectors, the planets, and all that, they had their own defense and stuff. So, but the Jedi stepped back into their peacekeeping, um, ways, I guess you could say. Blackness is everybody smash that like button already. Yes, thank you. Now with the Clone Wars, so let's compare and contrast here before on. So we had the thought bomb. The thought bomb basically victory in a sense for the Republic, for the Jedi, but it was also a victory for the Sith in a sense because Bane used that against his own to form because he'd seen the Brotherhood of Darkness was corrupted because they were always killing each other. The Sith wasn't going to survive under that faction, under that order. So he tricked Khan into doing the thought bomb. And when he did that, he was able to go under basically and start forming the rule of two to get revenge against the Jedi in a sense. And then thousands of years later or so, give or take, we have Palpatine, who basically is the heir to that, getting revenge. Getting revenge. So that's how those two coincide. So we have the Brotherhood of Darkness. The Army Light was to fight against them because they were getting power, control over the galaxy, especially the outer areas and all that stuff. And then Bane was on the sideline saying, we keep destroying ourselves within. Something's wrong here. And then he won himself. He got Revan's holocron, learned from that, and formed the rule of two. So he took all the deals of Revan and he made the rule of two. So you could say that the rule of two came from Revan in a sense because of the training of, or like the study of Revan's holocron. Yeah. And then so we have the rule of two. So see how this all ties in so beautifully. And people say the EU makes no sense. It's a cluster, basically anti-EU people say. But when you go in and you really do your history and you compare between eras and you realize that one couldn't happen without, in a sense, it's all one seamless timeline here. Seamless timeline. The Ruusan Reformation The Ruusan battles made a difference to what happened 1,000 years after, give or take, with the Jedi and with the Republic and with the Sith. And so I thought that was very interesting. So, the Jedi were like, oh, no more Sith. Okay, so we'll just continue to train like we used to. We don't really have any greater threats in the galaxy other than squishing, disputes from different sectors of the galaxy, different planets and stuff like that. Governments under the Republic, will be the peacekeepers. We'll in a sense, police, peacekeepers, whatever you want to call them, help the Republic maintain order in a sense. And stay, keep the light side going, basically. And so they kind of became placid, I guess. Like Yoda said in Revenge of the Sith, they failed to recognize, they failed to evolve, they failed to recognize that what they were doing, that he himself, since he's the oldest in the order of the time, was training their Jedi to fight the Sith from 1,000 years ago. Wow. Just think about that. They were stagnant on evolving, and they failed to train the Jedi to evolve, like evolve their training. And they were training them to fight Sith from 1,000 years ago or more. That's like a really like humbling revelation that Yoda made in the novel Revenge of the Sith. And that goes back to the Ruusan Reformation. That goes back to the Battle of Ruusan, of the Jedi Sith Wars. See how that all ties in beautifully? Let me see here what you guys have to say here now that I went on my little thing again. Orange Hat says the thought bomb caused some of the indigenous creatures to go insane because of their natural connection to the force. Correct. And I can't remember what they were called. I should have wrote down their name. I forgot their name, but yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. Thought bomb. Not that kind of thought. We're keepers of the peace, not soldiers. Clone Wars would like to have a word with you. Yeah, so let's see here. And then it wasn't physical. It wasn't physical bomb. It was a force bomb. Yeah. Well, the force that influenced the force that influenced physics, I guess you can say, the because it was physical in a sense. Yeah. And it destroyed the planet. Disney writers can't write a good and evil because they can't see both sides of the argument. They want to make everything gray so that people don't feel bad about themselves. That's how it goes. I asked it before, but I wonder if Exar Kun discovered a thought bomb on Korriban. It looked similar and had Jedi trapped inside in pain. You know what? I'm going to go ahead and look that up, and maybe we'll discuss that next week, or maybe I'll post more about that on Twitter. Such a good book series. Check out the Darth Bane series. Yes, exactly. Check it out. And go into, the comics and stuff during that time. Let's see what Christopher has to say. All of this sounds like it's woke to me. Okay. Let's see here. Didn't the Jedi Bastille perform some sort of mind wipe on Revan to try and turn him from the dark side? Yeah. Yeah, she and he started getting his memory back. When he was getting his memory back, he, it still helped him. He still had resolution with everything that happened to him. Let's see here. The dark side has more power when concentrated in a few people as possible. Maul was not meant to be a Sith Lord. He was meant to be taught only Sith Marauder skills and be pawn, which he was. He was still a pawn after he was killed, and I say that in quotes. And Dooku stepped up as a Sith apprentice. So before then, he just working alongside or mentored by, you can say. So there's a lot of like things with Dooku that some people don't understand. Um, Palpatine seeing how he left and was attracted to him in not in a sexual way, since people think about sexual shit all the time now, but was attracted to him because of the order. He's seen his ways and he was interested in him. So after Maul was quote unquote killed, then he stepped up into Maul's place as apprentice. So that's a little order. That's basically the timeline of Palpatine's apprentice so far. And then after Dooku was killed, then Anakin stepped in. So and all the infighting caused the Sith to degrade from the powerful empire to a bunch of scattered factions who kept getting weaker till Bane showed up. Correct. And that's why Bane, something needs to be done. We are destroying ourselves from the inside. Our enemies don't have to do that for us. That to ourselves. Excuse me. Let's see here. The bouncers, OG, that was the creature's name. Okay, that's right. I knew that they were some kind of like orbital figures, like fish. To me, when I seen what they look like they were kind of fish out of water. Some bouncers, yeah. I just don't know why I didn't think of bouncers when I thought about them. Matt G, you. Yeah, let's see here. And sorry about my lighting. One of my light bulbs went out in my light above me, and so it's kind of dark a little bit here. And I was playing with my ring light, and this is the best. Ruusan native species are bouncers, correct. Grey Jedi is a bunch of bull, correct. Let's see here. This talk of the thought bomb reminds me of the good pseudo metaphysic theory of pilots from Orson Scott Card's Enderverse. I might have to look into that. I'm not very familiar with that. Originally, the Darth Maul was written with no ambition to kill Sidious. He knew he was only a tool to kill the Jedi and to yeah, there's that right there. He was still considered a Sith apprentice in a sense. So, but I think that was written in that way because maybe at the time there was no intention of bringing him back, which I think that back was such a big failure in a sense because that lessens the Obi-Wan being revered as killing a Sith and becoming a Jedi Knight because of he basically completed his trials and stuff, so it lessens that. Maul retired for a bit. Yeah. He was split in half deciding if he should stay a Sith or not, so he, laid around for a while and contemplated that. Let's see here. All right. OG people only say there was only 2 Sith in history, so they say the Old Republic doesn't make sense, but there's literally an interview with George Lucas and said there were multiple Sith before the Rule 2. Yeah, I know. I should have brought up that interview, but I didn't think about it. Hey there, how are you doing? All right, so so the Ruusan battles in that era, 1,000 years prior to the PT or so. I recommend if you haven't got into that lore, get into it. It's amazing. It's great to know. Even the Darth Bane, there's the comics. There's the Darth Bane trilogy that goes into that Old Republic stuff. It links back to Revan. And then it helps set up the future into the Wars. So there's this coherent thing of history between the two, and we get to how the Sith were defeated, how the Republic demilitarized themselves, how the Jedi were like, we are the keepers of peace, basically, not soldiers, which they were even before the Ruusan battles. And and then we get into, the Clone Wars where they question that because we know during the 1,000 years gap that they maintained, through the Ruusan Reformation, their stance as working alongside the government to maintain peace. So then we get into all the way into the New Jedi Order where Luke finally decides, finally, because he did work with the Republic, when he formed the Jedi Order, and that stayed consistent off and on until we get into the Fate of the Jedi, and where we get into Crucible, where he's like, Jedi, we need to fight not only for the Republic, but for the galaxy. So that's where he totally split the New Jedi Order faction. And then 1,000 years after we get, not 1,000, 100 years after we get the Order under the descendants of Skywalker. And they're still in tandem in a way with the New Republic Alliance, or the GA. But then we have a new faction, the Fel Empire, which has their knights that are trained like Jedi in a sense, and we can only guess that that's caused by Jaina. Jaina probably intended to make a sister faction of the Order, and seeing how and use that to help protect the forming Fel Empire from any of one of them falling to the dark side and going dark and blah 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 blah. So I wish we would have had more stories about that. The story would have been perfect to start getting us into what's going to happen during that time frame. That gap that, you know, we would love to see the formation of the Fel Empire, the continuation of the New Jedi Order under other Skywalkers or other and stuff. And of course the family history. How did we get Cad? How did we get his Cole and Bantha, and them guys here. So we have those missing gaps now that we can only think about. So I'm going to go ahead. I kept it up for a while now, but I'm going to go ahead and close out the poll. And this is what happened. This is the standings here now. So favorite, if you haven't voted and you're coming in, go vote. Rogue Squadron Pilots from Legacy Era, that's about 137 ABY. We have Jorm Bay, 9%, Ange Dahl at 18%, Hondo Carr at 68%, and Monia Gahan at 4%. So I'm ending the poll here. So Horn Carr makes it in to the top 4. So here's the top 4. Or here's the top 3. So Gavin Darklighter won the first one, and that was like your basically popular rogues, I guess you could say. And then with the one where Wedge and Tillian is basically the classic rogues, the rogues. So Luke Skywalker didn't win, it was Wedge, and I was kind of happy about that because he's my favorite non-Force user pilot. And then for the New Jedi Order and New Republic era, Jaina Solo won. So now we have Hondo Core for the Legacy era. He'll be added in. So next Thursday, I am thinking, I will let you guys know. I'm not decided yet on taking the week off. I'm not sure. Probably not. I hate to miss coffee chat with you guys. So the next coffee chat, so next week, we will have the top 4 out of those 4. Gavin, Wedge, Jaina, and Hondo. Who it will be your favorite? Who will be the top rogue out of this? Who will be the top Rogue Squadron pilot out of these 4 now? So I will add his image on here. I don't think there's any images of him in any pilot suit, which I wish there was, but because we have a theme going on here. But I'll add his image, and I will add small biographies as the week goes on between the 4. And we will then that Thursday coffee chat, we will vote on, and I can't vote, but you guys will vote on who is your favorite rogue. So I'm excited about that. I have never done this kind of poll before, so I'm very excited about that. Let me see what you guys have to say. And you need to knock the shit off. You're going to get yourself in trouble here, mister. Who was Ben Skywalker's mama? The fans need to know, right? And I don't think it's Vistara Kai. I don't think it is. I don't think after her, after she deceived the whole entire family and put Alana in danger, I don't think that she's would ever be worthy to Ben to go back to. Honestly, she even said that she could never become a Jedi, that she struggled to be a Jedi, so yeah. And just out of entertainment. All right. So with that, let's get into Ahsoka. Let's talk about Ahsoka. So if you guys watched my video, and I'm going to find, I think I do have it on here. I'm going to find the leak that was sent to me. Yes, I found it right away. Good. Usually it takes a couple minutes. It's always a good thing when you find things right away and you're not having people wait on you. But I was presented these leaks here, and some of them became true just by confirming Hayden Christensen coming back as Anakin and Vader, I guess you could say. So we're gonna talk about this because I know you guys know how I feel about her. Let's remove you. Let's leave. Thank you. And you guys know that I am following her because I have my theories that she's going to be some kind of force goddess that's going to influence the history of Star Wars and even what's going on with Luke, all of them, and I think some of my predictions are coming true. Only time will tell. They just casted you and my wife as a Twi'lek. What? Where'd that come from? He's well. I mean, they are beautiful. Let's see here. So let me go ahead and bring this up here, and we'll discuss this even more. And all right, so these are leaks, and so like I said, some things were verified already with Hayden coming repurposing his role for like flashbacks, I guess you could say, or scenes from the Clone Wars and stuff, what have you. And they're also, they're also bringing in younger actresses for Ahsoka for that time. So I'm gonna go ahead and go through this. The thing is that there's other hints of of using the world between stuff like this. So during the production, Ahsoka Tano will had different code names. So they're talking about different code names from different actresses being played as Ahsoka. We already know that. We all get glimpses of Tano in order, other times and eras in versus the world between worlds. There is a version of Ahsoka in her late teens, one for another miss or under excuse me, an undisclosed time might be present day Ahsoka in terms of the narrative itself. And finally, for the version we saw in the final moments of Rebels with her white robes. So they're gonna have different, eras of Ahsoka. I wonder how it's gonna be. Flashbacks. Yes, they Star Wars today in the heavily relies on flashbacks. It wasn't that. I mean, flashbacks weren't uncommon in the original lore, but used a lot. And if it was used, it was used like the only type of title that was used was flow walk. But during that time, you couldn't influence. You were just an observer, and you didn't stay long. You didn't live and you inhabit, because with flow walk, the force would recorrect itself. So you were just there temporarily, and not everybody can access that at all. And it was yeah. So I'm gonna go on. So his Darth Vader sources have confirmed Ahsoka will fight Darth Vader. Vader being dark side Anakin Walsh. No shit, Sherlock. Um, um, let's see here. Now I lost my required. Okay, so basically, Hayden Christensen required some training for the sequences in the series because we will see his face once again on screen wearing the same costume he wore on Mustafar in Revenge of the Sith. So basically, he will be back and she will be fighting him on Mustafar that we've seen in Revenge of the Sith. We will see many possible outcomes for Ahsoka's life and how, in essence, no matter what, they will lead to a particular moment of her story. If Ahsoka had returned to the Jedi Order, she would be the one fighting Darth Vader on Mustafar, having the high ground. Do you hear that? So if she would have returned to the Order, and this is all in Filoni's head, and this is leaks, I mind you, this is leaks, but I'm just saying this probably is in Filoni's head. He wants her to be significant to every part of the story. So if she had not left, if she had returned to the Order, she would be the one fighting the Darth Vader on Mustafar, having the high ground, not Obi-Wan Kenobi, because what happened had to happen to get Tano to where she had, or where she and Skywalker needed to be. He can also confirm Hayden Christensen's filmed fight scenes with Clone Wars Ahsoka in this scenario. So think about that. We know George wanted her dead. We know George wanted her as an apprentice to give more depth to Anakin turning to the dark side. And, and that goes into her death. What more could devastate Anakin besides, losing his mom, fearing the death of his wife and future family? His apprentice as well. Her existing doesn't put much depth into it. Her existing in this timeline doesn't put much depth to it. It would be her death as intended by George, right? Because that would also further make him angry, and then probably would make him angry maybe at the Order some more, feeding more into Palpatine's manipulation. See where the story could have gone? That probably would have pleased everybody, is if she would have died. It would have given a little bit more depth into, Anakin's attachments and how he became attached to his Padawan and how Palpatine was manipulating him. But no, Filoni said, this is my bae. This is my babe. This is my character. I want her to influence. I want her to live on. And so he went against George's wishes, and we all know about that. We've talked about this so many friggin' times, so let me go ahead and go on. Through the world between worlds, it seems present-day Ahsoka will learn that Anakin Skywalker was destined to take the path he did, and we, the audience, will see aspects of those outcomes, and in some of them, we see live-action Clone Wars era Ahsoka played by the new actor in a duel with her former Jedi Master, taking the place of Obi-Wan Kenobi in the reality that never was. To be clear, there are glimpses of small sequences, and Dawson will play Ahsoka during the majority of the story. So they're going to bring it. So this is, like, again, I said leaks. So in order to make sure that she's influenced and gets to go through the time to find out that Anakin had to fall, which means she's going to be traveling into the OT era. She's going to witness his redemption, probably. Who knows how she's going to influence it now? So she can discover that he needed to fall in order to destroy the Sith. So, if this is the case, will this be a way of them explaining why she wasn't involved in the OT era to help Luke? It's because she used World Between Worlds. But on another case, why didn't she share this World Between Worlds with Luke so he could understand better what was happening with the First Order rising and stuff? And we're going into Disney lore here. We're going into that cavern, that cave, that pit, whatever you want to call it. Why didn't she educate Luke and said, World Between Worlds? You can take a glimpse in and see. Instead of, and helped him from leaving the galaxy and becoming this cowardly Jedi man that away from his character arc in the OT that George set up for him. To use that as a tool to say glimpse. Even though this kind of against the visions of the future, I guess you could say, where the future is only one scenario. It's like and it's so hard to tell. It's not predictable, so you don't know exactly which is true or not when you glimpse into the future, because you have so many scenarios of what ifs and stuff. So that's another thing that the World Between Worlds kind of, breaks the lore, is the visions of the future. But where was she to help Luke out after Return of the Jedi? When he basically went out of Jedi character, out of his character, and tried to kill his nephew of the Disney lore. So that's another thing that brings question in my mind now, and it gives me ideas to talk about later on in future videos. Where was she now, that if this, especially if this comes true, especially if these leaks are true? And again, like I said, time will only tell. But just imagine, this is all what's going on. Probably is all what's going on in Filoni's head. He wants to make her so significant to the lore, to influence every part of the timelines going towards the OT and past the OT, that I could see this happening. I'm pretty sure you guys can see this happening too. So now imagine Ahsoka influencing every part of the lore at every different era of Star Wars, basically. Who knows? She might even go back to the High Republic. Yeah, who knows? But just think about that. This is what's inside this man's head. Is that he wants her to be so significant to every single timeline, to influence the Skywalker story in so many ways, that it destroys it, in a sense. It destroys, well, for the Disney lore, because this is not happening in the original lore. Thank God. Thank God. Thank you, creator. But still, this is what's going on. This is like Padme's made in bodyguard, Sabe, or whatever her name is. They totally flipped her character. Another character that was ruined. We didn't need to know about her sex and her interest in loves and interest in Padme. We did not need to know that. We don't even need to know a love triangle type story about Sabe wanting to get revenge on Vader. That's not Star Wars. That is absolutely not Star Wars. Yeah. So, and then where was she? How come she never really tried to influence Vader, in a sense? Is it because she traveled between worlds that she gained this old wisdom to allow things just to happen because it happened? So does this mean that she's just going to be this Force goddess entity that, Luke and everybody will bow down to? Even Rey? Who knows? This is Disney's lore. None of this is going to surprise me. And it's all here to laugh and cringe at, and to give your opinions about Ahsoka and what can and what may be in the series coming. And I can't wait for those who's going to review it. I can't wait to see what happens. Like Raging Rhino, if you're going to review the Ahsoka series, I am very interested to see if this happens. I really am. The last one, Ahsoka will also see other visions in these sequences. Had Ahsoka killed Thrawn and Ezra Bridger, killed Thrawn and Ezra, excuse me, had Ahsoka killed Thrawn and Ezra Bridger did not need to use the Purgle. The Purgle, he didn't use the friggin' Purgle. The Purgles attacked. The Purgles attacked. He didn't use them. But anyways, Ahsoka's destiny remained the same. The lesson for Tano appears to be that she cannot change her destiny, and instead she must embrace it. So what is her destiny? To become a Force goddess and influence everybody? Is that it? Is that her destiny? Do you see where this is leading to, you guys? And if you guys are tuning in, please hit the like button, share, become a channel member. What the hell? Gift me with that. Become a channel member. I would love to have a channel member as a channel member. Or at least if you're new to my channel, subscribe. We are past 2,500. Woo! Thank you guys so much. Okay. Let's see here. The best thing about Ahsoka series will be Raging Rhino's reviews. Correct. I can't wait for that. I am now curious because, like I said, I am watching because my predictions are or is she is going to be some kind of force goddess kind of entity, all knowing, all seeing. And this is what this sounds like. This is what it seems like it's leading to. And they're going to make Luke more insignificant, so, and let's see what they do with this Rey character versus her. Who knows what they're going to do with the ST, post ST era, which are DT, which I can care less about. But like I said, I just sometimes you take your eyes away from the train wreck, right? Sometimes you're like so damn curious to see what's going to happen next that you just can't stop watching, or you just can't stop observing, I guess you could say, because I'm definitely not going to watch this shit. But I do want to know if this happens because I am following Ahsoka to see what's going to happen with her and my predictions of her becoming a Force goddess, priestess, or whatever, especially with the white cloak and all that, and how the ones influenced her in Clone Wars. So let's see here. Anakin had an apprentice for 3 years and still not granted the rank of master. Loud. Well, and that's another thing. Should have died before Revenge of the Sith, and that could be another reason why they decided. From his recklessness, we know that becoming a master is not just your powers and ability; it's your maturity, and we know that Anakin wasn't mature enough even when we were in Revenge of the Sith because he was still rash. He still had a lot of growing to do. Wish they didn't give Anakin an apprentice. He was just a Jedi Knight. Jedi Knights did have apprentices, especially in the Clone Wars. But then so they were given apprentices. Let's see here. In death in Star Wars, death is meaningless now. Why couldn't they use the world between worlds to bring back Shmi, Padme, and Qui-Gon? Who knows? Let me see here. Hey, OG, will film critics have issues with the white actors playing an alien species? Who knows these days? Who knows? I thought that was so crazy. I mean, I understand why some of my people, natives, basically, are backlashing against Cameron. And he did reveal that, he was influenced by Lakota culture in a sense. But that doesn't mean that those aliens represent me. I swear to God, is there some sick, twisted, like, jokester going on? Because that one time I said I'm glad that they're not adding us natives into their movies, so we don't see this backlash and we don't see blah 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 blah. And then boom, all of a sudden, we have predator with prey, predator prey, which the story wasn't that well. I mean, the story was, I guess you could say. Maybe I'm being kind, I don't know. But it wasn't Oak with the lead protagonist as a woman. And I got backlash myself for that. But when you get into Avatar, and I'm good, separating from this conversation now, but when you get to Avatar, and I'm having hair stick to my eyelashes, but my people are like, because it was based or inspired by, they use the word based, then people of color should be in those roles. Indigenous people should be playing those roles. But when you look at the cast is diverse. The cast is diverse. So what's going on here? And being inspired by doesn't mean that this is a documentary. It just means that it was inspired by events, what have you, and used to fit that storyline, fantasy, sci-fi. So it's not appropriating either. Using themes from cultures, like I use the example of George Lucas. He was inspired by Japanese cultures, other cultures. That's not appropriation. there's a difference between inspiration and appropriation. I'm going to have to do a whole video on and talk about that, especially when it comes to art and making films, creating these concept arts, in which my art of Star Wars is coming up, so maybe I'll get into that too. But making art and being inspired by an artist and being inspired by a creator, and then taking some of those elements that you're inspired and adding it into your work. Like I did pointillist work, so I'm inspired by our original creator of the pointillist technique. Doesn't mean that I'm appropriating his work. I'm just adding that stylization of brush work into my work. And that's the difference. It's not appropriating. Anyways, so yeah, I went on a little rant on that. Let's throw random ideas in the wall and see if they stick, right? And let's see here. Because the Force is female, OG, don't need no toxic male learning about it. That's why they have pushed their Luke Skywalker to the side. And that's why he's significant. That's why he's never learned from his trials as becoming a Jedi Knight in the OT. See how that's going? I thought when they said master, it was about a Jedi master of the council. That didn't mean he was a Padawan. The proof is that he hadn't any more Padawan braid. 2D Clone Wars showed that scene. Yeah, and in the Clone Wars 03 Tartakovsky's is when he was knighted. But he was knighted like months before Revenge of the Sith. With Tony's Clone Wars, he was knighted soon after the clones, which didn't make sense in the lore whatsoever. There are consequences for using the world between worlds, just like everything goes to shit every time Barry Allen time travels into the past and changes things. Correct. A lot of Disney fans are starting to get tired of Ahsoka. I've seen that, and I like my video had people reveal I love Ahsoka, but this is getting ridiculous. And one thing I could say, these leaks are true, and in a way, I hope they are. I hope they are. Why? Not in hope that they will change people's views on George's movie, but how fucked up it is. How fucked up the lore is going to be. Yeah, they're remaking George's movies by adding their lore around and into it, which makes people view it very differently, which kind of pisses me off. It takes away George's intentions of what's supposed to be mean and the storyline and stuff. That's one thing I don't agree with. But with this, I just laugh. It's like, okay, you're going to get exactly what you deserve because you're over here anti-EU, Clone Wars, blah, blah, Filoni on a pedestal kind of deal, and talking shit to us EU people from the time they decided to toss it because they didn't think it was significant enough to use. And they wanted creative freedom. This is your creative freedom. It's nothing but garbage. It's all over the place. There you go. Enjoy. Cheers to you on that. Like what you like. This is my opinion. This is how I think. This is me. I've never, maybe a year or two ago, I'd be like, I don't want what happened to us, EU fans, or Star Wars fans, to happen to the newer fans. But now I don't care anymore. And we could probably say it's karma or whatever. Enjoy if this is what you like. If you like this kind of lore, if you like this, fine. Cheers to you. I mean, everybody like and dislike things in a franchise, right? Well, I prefer George Lucas era over Disney Star Wars. Yeah, there's potential I've seen. I did praise some things, because I'm not that unfair. But is it my cup of tea? No. Is it destroying George's vision? Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Link the maker. Yep. let's see here. We're coming up close to our 2 hours here, so we're going to start closing out here. So continue to share your thoughts on this. Go watch the video I did. See what I had to say about it more, because I, touched bases on some stuff I said already in that video, but I've said a lot more in there. So go check it out. Batsy says doesn't matter if she's important now. She's still not mentioned in any of the 6 films. No, she's not, but he wants her to be significant. And once if these leaks are right, once she starts being inserted through World Between Worlds and she was in there, it's going to make her significant. Lesbian scorned. What? Like Luke seeing his face in the cave, Ahsoka is going to run through all the portals until she's the only face in the galaxy, a reflection of her internalized mystery. Wow. Who knows? Perverted little trogs. And there are no gods in Star Wars. If so, they were never seen. Correct. But you never know, because that's Filoni. I'm just saying. Ahsoka is so overused. It was an okay character. And do you remember, like, these anti-EU people are like, Luke was everywhere. He was in everything. We're tired of Luke. Blah, blah, blah. But oh, Ahsoka, we love her so much. Okay, Ahsoka's your Luke now. Enjoy. Okay. Starkiller had 2 games and books and is more loved by fans. Correct. And he served a purpose, and then he was gone. Well, kind of, because we didn't get a conclusion because of the buyout, but still, he served his purpose. All right. Filoni wants to be the next Lucas. Won't be surprised if he tries to remake the original films. Who knows? In our lifetime, but what I'm seeing the remake happen, and how I'm remake is how the lore that they're building around the movies for Disney lore is going to make people view the movies. So that doesn't necessarily need to be a full physical remake. It's just remaking the lore around the movies will make people view the movies differently. See how that's going there? And it is. And you could see in articles of Screen Rant. That's what I'm saying. The truth is in these shitty articles that I use for Cringe Factor. There are some bits of truth, because once one thing is said, it's confirmed by the company or confirmed by the So there's some that. There is some truth in that. So keep an eye open for that, because it's all bits of like evidence that we've been talking about for a long time being revealed in shitty pop culture article websites like Screen Rant, but they're there. Original Predator is best, and Hollywood forgets that native actors Sonny Landon and yeah, I agree. And nothing worse than white libs that think they're representing other traditions should have seen the loons flocking around. Yeah, I mean, but the thing is, like, with when I was talking about my people, saying that indigenous need to be put in there because the story is based upon, I don't agree with that. I don't agree that it's appropriation. But what I agree with them is his take on Lakota culture and saying that we're a dead end culture. And that's where he really pissed a lot of people off on. Look, we are not a dead end culture. Now, if we would have been able to see through a window into the future with our kids and our circumstances today, would we have fought harder? I don't know. But does that say that he's saying we didn't fight hard enough? I guess so. So it's kind of like a little backhanded, like, slap in the face to our people. Like, oh, if you would have known, you would have fought harder. We can't predict the future, but we fought as hard as we could to save our culture, save our people, so that we could still exist here today. The Sentinel is the one that gave me this little leak here. Thank you so much. He was knighted 6 to 7 months of Revenge of the Sith, so all the montage takes place here. Yeah. Let's see here. Wow, you guys have a lot to say. My dog could write better material than 90% of Disney material. Wow. You mean he could shit out 90% what they do? Disney did not want to pay authors for the EU royalties, so they also did not want to be pigeonholed. You know that any character that's made for Star Wars becomes Star Wars property. But the books, they do get royalties on that. We already know the history of that. But to bring the characters in and use the characters, that's Disney property then in itself. So let's see here. Into sticking with what was already written. So yes. So thank you guys so much. I thought I would go a little bit more on this leak here. Thank you, the Sentinel, for providing this to me and giving me a great resource for a video as well. And you guys go check out that video and support the channel, share, like that. And thank you again for you guys' continued support. But I think it's important to, even if you're not a Disney Star Wars fan, is to kind of keep eye on what's going on and see what's going on in the Star Wars lore and how it's refocusing attention on George's intention with the movies. To stay kind of educated and on top of that, especially when you have people, oh, it's not changing anything. They're just bringing their own version in. In a way, it is. It's going to change what's in the future. So continue on with the EU, continue on talking about the original lore, the original intentions of Jordan, and keep it front and center. This is what this channel's about. And whether or not Kathleen Kennedy's, retiring, that doesn't make any difference anymore. If she's signing off to retire, we knew that was coming. We knew that they were never going to fire her or get rid of her. It's all on her terms. But in the end, all of this going on is ultimately Disney's decision. We don't know what Kennedy wanted and what was shot down by Disney themselves. They've even stated in interviews that they have that they're the ones that approve of what's going to come out with their IPs. They have ultimate say. Yeah, so in the end, just keep an eye out. Enjoy original EU, George Lucas era Star Wars, and go back to Ruusan, the Battle of Ruusan, and check out that lore if you haven't already. We touched and we compared a little bit between them and the Clone Wars and how that event basically affected what's happened in the Clone Wars and the Rula 2 and stuff. So that proves right there in itself that it's one coherent time. There's no screwiness, that it's not all mixed up and can't keep continuity, because it did. Guys, I fear the cringe making OG turn to the dark side. Who is her name, or what would her name be? Or I don't know. Maybe you guys can come up with a crazy Sith name for me. I don't know. So stay tuned now. So the Hondo car is made it into the top 4. So we have Gavin, we have Wedge and Tilly's, we have Jaina Sola, and now we have Hondo core. So next EU, or next coffee chat, we will discuss, or we will have that on the poll. We'll discuss them in general, all 4 of them. So, but maybe do a half an hour focus on their characters and their significance in the lore throughout the timeline, since Rogue Squadron has been created by both Luke and Wedge, which in the Disney lore, it's no longer that. But, and, go into the bit of their history. Maybe we'll talk about legacy. We haven't really talked about legacy. And maybe we'll talk about some starships or something like that and go into the technology of the lore here, kind of veer away from just character talking, in itself, and go into that. So thank you guys so much for tuning in and nerding out with me on Star Wars, having fun and laughing and cringing at what's happening in the Disney lore. Whether you like it or not, that's totally up to you. However, not my cup of tea, but I do keep an eye on it. So there you go. Now I got to go and finish up what I need to do with my photos, my interview, all that stuff. So that's why I'm all made up here. And so I got to get busy. Got to do some shots in a bikini with heels and a nice outfit, do a video, have a headshot. So I have all of that stuff going on after this. So time for me to get busy. So thank you guys for hanging out with me. And what's coming up? Did I say something was coming up? Other than Art of Star Wars first introduction video, that is the main man, Ralph McQuarrie. Yeah, so tune in for that. Hopefully I'll have that before the new year. If not, it'll be up for the new year, ringing in the new year with that new series I'm super excited about. So thank you guys again. And again, here's a top 3. We'll add Hondo Core, and may the force be with you, and I will chat with you guys later.
I had fought the worst of all wars and witnessed the redemption of evil. I have seen balance restored to the Force. But order can turn to chaos, as it did when I was born. Now, with my loved ones and my loyal allies, I face a new challenge unlike any before. And I'm not sure at this time we can win.
Star Wars Vector Prime by R.A. Salvatore, the first novel of the new Jedi Order.
Another happy landing.